Welcome to Garden Treasures channel. Today we are going to talk about a wonderful flower called Phlox Subulata. Phlox Subulata got its name from the shape of its leaves, narrow, stiff, pointed, resembling small awls. It's also called carpet phlox, creeping phlox, and in its homeland, North America, it's known as moss pink. It is widespread in the U.S. from the southern part of Lake Ontario to North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, and west to Michigan. In the wild, it often grows on rocky screes and dry sandy hills, as well as in the light shade of shrubs. The plant reaches a height of about 15 to 17 centimeters. It forms evergreen, dense mats. The procumbent stems with very short internodes are entirely covered with closely set, small, narrow, sharp, and stiff leaves up to 2 centimeters long. The stems end in peduncles, each bearing 1 or 2 flowers. The flowers are about 25 millimeters in diameter, pink, white, purple, or lilac in various shades, gathered in small inflorescences of 5 to 7, sometimes solitary. The corolla has spread out petals, notched at the edges. It blooms from mid-May to the end of the first 10 days of June, and again, less profusely, in August-September. In cultivation, it's currently very difficult to find this species of phlox. Its garden forms and cultivars, of which there are many, are much more common. They are a true adornment for rock gardens, retaining walls, mixed borders, and other types of floral design in gardens and landscapes. Phlox subulata are excellent because their tufts remain emerald green from early spring until frost, even preserving their greenery under the snow. And during flowering, in late May and early June, carpets of Phlox subulata are completely covered with flowers of various shades, white, blue, pink, red, with or without stripes. Although the flowers of creeping phlox are small, no more than 2 centimeters in diameter. Their bloom is so abundant that the greenery is completely hidden under a continuous cover of flowers, and this lasts for about a month. Under favorable conditions, repeat flowering can occur in September. Phlox subulata is a very unpretentious and adaptable plant. It can tolerate the most unfavorable growing conditions. However, for it to look spectacular and bloom profusely, it is necessary to create conditions close to natural ones: rocky or sandy dry hills, rocky slopes. The main requirement when choosing a location for phlox is an abundance of light and sun. These plants are very light-loving. Phlox subulata are drought-resistant plants and do not tolerate stagnant moisture. Planting them in places with excessive moisture is the most common mistake of novice flower growers. As a result, the plant looks weak, does not give the effect of a continuous carpet, and eventually dies. The best predecessors for phlox are perennial lawn grasses, marigolds, calendula, and other plants that nematodes do not like. You should not plant phlox after strawberries, as they are a favorite treat for nematodes. Like any evergreen plant, Phlox subulata should be planted in places with sufficient snow cover during the winter. These phlox will thrive in loose, poor, dry soils. In overly fertile soil, they produce a lot of foliage but few flowers. In the wild, they grow in poor soils with a pH closer to neutral. Depending on the soil type, the dose of lime application can be 200-400 grams per meter square. Lime or dolomite flour is usually used for liming, and effectiveness is achieved only when the flour is mixed with the soil. Sand should also be added to heavy soils before planting. Since the root system of ground cover phlox is shallow, at a depth of 5 to 15 centimeters, the plants can be content with a small layer of soil. When preparing the soil for planting, it is important to carefully remove the roots of perennial weeds, as the latter, sprouting through the turf, will spoil the appearance of the plantings, and removing them without damaging the cultivated plant is quite difficult. That is why the main activity when growing Phlox subulata is regular and timely weeding. It is enough to plant young plants at a distance of 25 to 30 centimeters from each other, and in 1 to 2 years, the phlox will form a continuous carpet. To speed up this process, The stem should be spread out and directed in the desired direction, and then pinned to the soil or sprinkled with earth. One of the features of Phlox Subulata is the rapid growth of its shoots. They grow up to 40 centimeters long in 2 to 3 years, and they're rooting at branching points. Care is reduced to weeding, watering, and feeding. Before flowering, during the period of active plant growth, it is desirable to feed them with nitrogen-potassium fertilizers, and in the middle of summer, to apply a complete mineral fertilizer. With a well-chosen planting site, suitable soil, and proper care, phlox carpets retain their decorative effect for 4 to 5 years or more. Creeping phlox are considered cold-resistant plants, but in warm, humid winters with heavy snow cover, their leaves and stems can rot. The plants lose their decorative appeal but recover quickly with good care. Adding humus will contribute to better growth and abundant flowering. However, it should be remembered that these phlox cannot be overfed like bearded irises. Otherwise, the plants will, as they say, get fat and go to leaf. The green mass will be powerful and beautiful, but the flowering will be weak. In northern regions, where plants require winter shelter, coniferous spruce branches should be used, preferably spruce, as it acidifies the soil less. Dry leaves are unsuitable for covering Phlox Subulata. They are used only for sheltering plants with non-wintering leaves. In early spring, to help phlox recover faster, you can water them with a weak solution of humate. This accelerates the growth and development of the root system. Like other phlox, plants older than 5 years should be rejuvenated. As older stems gradually become woody, the leaves on them die off, bare patches appear on the previously lush bushes, and they lose their decorative effect. In addition, older plants are more susceptible to various diseases. The flowers on bushes older than 5 years tend to become smaller. The flowering is not so abundant, the plants seem weakened, and they look untidy. The plant is susceptible to powdery mildew and caterpillars that damage the stem. Caterpillar infestation manifests as curling and brown coating on the leaves, which can lead to the death of the plant. Affected plants should be removed immediately. Phlox should not be planted in their place for several years. The plant becomes diseased due to poor ventilation, lack of water, and fertilizer. Therefore, do not plant phlox too close to each other between tall companion plants and in front of wind-sheltering walls. Purchase only healthy planting material. At this point, I would like to end this video. Write your thoughts on this flower down in the comments below, and see you again